Quite often, many of us, well, me at least, criticize everything that had to do with Naruto's birth and how that really screwed him up as a child. From Hiruzen's neglect to Konoha's animosity. But one thing I've rarely touched upon was Minato's decision to seal the Nine Tails away into Naruto. I've always questioned if it were needed or if Kushina truly were going to die, but giving them the benefit of the doubt, I at least realized the need for this. The world was coming off the heels of the Third Shinobi World War, and just as Itachi destroyed the Uchiha, thinking it would save the village from destruction in a new war, Minato did the same. As sad as it is, Naruto was likely one of the few things that stopped the Fourth Shinobi World War from occurring at that time. And now that, in this what if he never received the Nine Tails, we see what the world would be like without it. Naruto's childhood may be a bit better, but the world is suffering for it, and the Akatsuki now have a leg up in their plan. But the question is, can the world return from this? Can it still be salvaged? Well, turn your eye up to our moon and allow me to continue crafting for you a world of dreams where just such an event occurred. Welcome to the Amagi. Before we begin, only 25% of our viewers are subscribed, so if you're a fan of the video, please like and double check if you are subscribed, and with that out of the way, let's get into the video. The sound of a hissing pump could be heard as a heart monitor's beeping sounded from within the room. The little pump rose and depressed, pushing air through a tube going down Naruto's throat. An aged hand reached down for the clipboard and looked it over. TBI, brain swelling, fractures of the C6, C7, and TH1 vertebra of the upper spinal cord, as well as the TH12, I1, I2, and I3 vertebra of the lower. He continued to read a list of fractures, splinters, and shattering within the bone, and trauma and internal bleeding to various internal organs. Cerebral edema. He looked at Naruto's head and saw where they had to remove part of his cranial cap to manage swelling. Currently, it was back on and in the process of healing. Thankfully, that seemed to be mostly taken care of, but there were various issues and complications, and now, even though Naruto was alive, it was questionable if he would ever wake again, or if he would remain a vegetable all of his life. Sasuke was still under as well. He was only semi-conscious, his eyes open but nobody home, basically drooling into a cup. Jiraiya couldn't help but feel terrible about the whole situation. To see the son of his former student, and his closest friend in this state, Jiraiya didn't know who had it worse at current. He knew that physically speaking, Naruto had it worse, but mentally it could be Sasuke. There was a chance Sasuke may never wake up again, and considering how Tsukiyomi affected time within a genjutsu, it could be possible that Sasuke was suffering through 10,000 years of non-stop physical torture. There was no telling how long Sasuke could hold out, depending on how bad it was. People often said that genjutsu was all smoke and mirrors, and that illusions could never hurt you, but Jiraiya knew better. He knew that the longer someone spent in a hellish genjutsu, the closer the body came to giving up and completely rejecting life as a whole. The mind was what made a person. Attacking it essentially attacked the essence of a person directly, their spirit. And if they managed to kill their spirit, the body would soon follow. It was then that Kakashi walked in. "Oh, Master Jiraiya, I'm sorry. I didn't know you were in here. I can come back later if you need time." Jiraiya shook his head. "No, it's fine. These are your students after all." It was sad as there was nobody here to see Naruto. "Actually, a little Hyuga girl was in here just earlier." It looks like Sasuke and Naruto will both be left like this. Jiraiya shook his head. "No, they've not done everything. If they can be healed, I know of one person who can help." "Tsunade," Hiruzen questioned from his chair at the Hokage's desk. Jiraiya nodded. "Surely she could help us." Hiruzen shook his head. "It'll never happen." "What? Why?" Hiruzen looked down. "Tsunade has retired." "Then pull her ass out of retirement," Jiraiya said. "This is an emergency, and only she can save these lives." Hiruzen looked up once more. "I don't think that will change anything. I asked her to be our Surgeon General during the war, but she "Let me talk to her. I can bring her back," Jiraiya said. "I don't think that's possible, Jiraiya," Hiruzen told him. "No, I insist. Take Kakashi with you," Hiruzen said. "He has experience with things like this. He could be invaluable to you. I'll only approve the mission if you take him with you." Jiraiya huffed. "Fine. Just make sure he doesn't get in my way." And so the two began to head out. They made their way toward Tanzuka quarters where they hoped to find Tsunade. As they walked, they began to speak a bit. "So tell me, what kind of person has Naruto become?" Kakashi thought about it. "He's a lot like his father, but he's prideful. Naruto doesn't like to lose, but more so I think that he's afraid of letting his father down and ruining his legacy. But he has the capacity to learn, and is always looking into any possible flaws he has and hoping to correct them. He's at least honest with himself, and that reminds me a bit of Minato-sensei." Jiraiya nodded. Minato was indeed the same way. He was always striving to become better, whether it was to make Jiraiya himself look good as a master, or because he just hated imperfections within himself, he didn't know. But it certainly did remind him of Minato. And what of the other boy we're trying to save? The Uchiha? Oh, you mean Sasuke? I would say he's Naruto's equal and opposite, the yin to Naruto's yang. Sasuke is talented on his own, but his drive is to destroy someone in his family, and he continually trains for that. Curse of hatred, huh? Jiraiya said. This caught Kakashi's eye. Huh? Jiraiya looked back. Oh, you've never heard of the curse? Well, it's something that the Uchiha have had for countless generations. How it started, I'm not entirely sure. I believe that the Toad Sage mentioned something about one of the Sage of Six Paths' sons. But basically, the Uchiha have very fragile hearts and don't take rejection or loss well. In other words, if you hurt something they love, they turn all that love into hatred and focus it on their enemy. Then Sasuke must have been hurt really bad, Kakashi added on, because I've never seen anyone hate any other living being like Sasuke hates Itachi. Jiraiya nodded. It's something to watch out for. While it may not be any of our business, if you truly care for Sasuke, you need to find a way to break him from that, or it'll lead to only suffering. The two continued to walk until they reached the place where they were going, Tonzuka Quarters. Upon entering the town, you couldn't even tell that there was a war going on. No armed shinobi walking around or anything. Not that any could tell. That was not to say that there were no armed warriors. This place has been run by the Mafia for years, Jiraiya said. They don't need shinobi, they have muscle. Kakashi nodded. They continued to walk on. As they did, Jiraiya looked at a list of places they had received where Tsunade was likely to be. Jiraiya looked up and saw one of the places on the slip of paper. A bar. If I know Tsunade, and I do, she'll be in here. Jiraiya led Kakashi in. Walking into the bar, they began to search for Tsunade. They would ask a bartender about it, and he would point her out. She's in the corner booth. She drank herself silly last night and fell asleep at the table. Jiraiya thanked the man and walked over to her with Kakashi. He sat down at the booth as Kakashi pulled up a chair. The jostling of the table stirred Tsunade, who spoke in a stupor. She's taken. Jiraiya sat there for a moment. Tsunade, we need you to come back to the village. You need Tsunade, she said with a slur. Nobody needs Tsunade anymore. Her head fell back down on the table. Jiraiya looked at the bartender, who was slowly shaking his head. Jiraiya stood and helped get Tsunade on her feet. He would then drop a tip on the table for the waiter. Jiraiya and Kakashi would then take her back to her apartment, where they would lay her on the couch and give her an aspirin. She took the pills and lay there for 30 to 45 minutes, getting a bit of a nap in before Jiraiya had enough and shook her awake. She sat up. Damn, Jiraiya, what's the big deal? The big deal is that I have 2 suffering patients who are dying, and only you can save them. Tsunade rubbed her eyes and tried to focus on Jiraiya. I'll tell you what I told Hiruzen. I'm done with the medical field. I'm not going back. This wasn't a question, Tsunade. She looked at him. Oh, is it not? Jiraiya shook his head. It's not. I didn't drag myself through hell in half a Suna just to be told no by you. Did you forget how many organs I ruptured the last time you tried to make me do something I didn't want to do? Care for a repeat performance? Calm down, Kakashi said as he stood from his seat. Miss Tsunade, I'm sorry that we dropped in unannounced and disturbed you, but we really need your help. Kakashi pulled out a picture of Team 7 grouped together and handed it to her. See there? That's Naruto, Minato's son. And the scowling one, that's Sasuke, the last Uchiha. Both are gravely injured and aren't expected to regain consciousness. Tsunade looked at the picture and gave it back. I'm sorry about that, but as I said, I'm retired. Even if I did go back with you, there's nothing I could do. I can't look at blood anymore, not since dawn. It makes me want to throw up and I get shaky, and that's not something a good medical nin does. A good medical nin needs to have a steady hand, no matter how brutal the injury that they're facing. I can't do that anymore, and therefore have lost my qualification to be a practitioner of the medical arts. Then what do you suppose we do? Jiraiya asked. Without you, these boys will die. Tsunade rested her head in her hand. Give me a moment. I'll call my student, Shizune. She's a medical nin of such high caliber that it's not even funny. I may have been a prodigy when I was still young, but Shizune comes really close to that. And if I may be so bold, I dare say that she's the best physician in the world besides me. Best by a long shot. I'll call her up and tell her that this is why I trained her. She'll go back with you. Jiraiya sighed. It wasn't what he came for, but if this is all he could get, it was better than nothing. Fine. Call her up. She better be as good as you say she is. If these 2 boys die because you refuse to help us, I'll never forgive you. Tsunade picked up the phone and dialed Shizune's number. Yeah? Shizune, I have a favor to ask. Once more, Kakashi and Jiraiya returned to Konoha, but this time they had Shizune in tow. They brought her straight to Konoha General, where she began to examine Naruto and Sasuke. Can you help them? Kakashi asked. Shizune nodded. I have a few tricks up my sleeve. I should be able to do it. Just give me time to get scrubbed up and I'll begin treatment. After this, time passes for a while until Shizune finally finishes what she's doing. She leaves the boys to rest, letting Kakashi and Jiraiya watch over them. As they do, Kakashi speaks. Jiraiya, I have a personal favor to ask. Jiraiya looked up from his chair. What is it? I want you to teach Naruto and Sasuke. Jiraiya almost looked amused by this. No, my days of training others are behind me. Please, Kakashi said. Earlier you told me that we needed to get a hold of Sasuke's hate or it would ruin us. I think if he trains with you and Naruto, that might remind him of what's most important. Please. As a favor to both me and Minato-sensei, will you train them? Jiraiya thinks about it. If they wake up, I'll consider it. And from there, it was a waiting game. Sasuke would be the first to wake up, and due to the form of injury he suffered though, they had to give him extensive mental health evaluations. He managed to pass them. He explained that the Tsukiyomi wasn't as bad as it seemed. He just watched his parents' murder on loop. He stated that it wasn't something he hadn't already done every day since it happened. Naruto took a little while longer though. He was out for quite a few more days before he did finally reawaken. As soon as he did, they did a mental evaluation on him to make sure that he hadn't received any brain damage. He seemed to be okay for the most part and had no massive ill effects from the injury. As soon as they figured out that he was okay, they gave him the green light to leave. But the wars raged on, and the Nine Tails was in the hands of someone else. It was becoming increasingly obvious that Konoha would lose the war if it did not regain control of the Nine Tails at some point. And so, Konoha's military strategies changed to prolonging the war as long as possible until they could regain control of the beast. And to that end, a group of shinobi were formed with the specific role to hunt down the Akatsuki. At this time, Jiraiya would remember his promise to teach Naruto and Sasuke and would take them aside and ask if they would like to learn from him. Of course, the answer was yes. For Naruto, he's now training under the man who trained his father, and for Sasuke, there's no greater honor than to be training under one of the legendary Sannin. And so, for a time, Naruto and Sasuke leave the village together to train with Jiraiya. When they got there, he attempted to teach them different techniques and abilities, one of which was the Rasengan. Naruto is excited to learn this new technique, especially when he's told that his father created it. This excitement only seems to slow him down though, as his need to learn it and the excitement in seeing that he's one step closer to being as strong as his father pushes him to try and learn it way too fast, which ultimately leads to him failing more times than he should. Eventually, Jiraiya tells him that he needs to calm down and simply learn instead of trying to emulate his father to a T, and because of this, Naruto begins to pick it up. Sasuke, however, has an issue in managing to control it. Jiraiya takes note of this. He thinks about it. Sasuke. Sasuke looks up at him. I don't know if you can learn the Rasengan, at least not yet. But you think Naruto can, Sasuke said, pointing to Naruto who seemed to be struggling as well. Jiraiya looked over. There are signs of people who can or people who can't do a technique from the start. Naruto has the signs that makes me believe that he'll soon manage it. I don't know if you can though. That's absurd, Sasuke shouts. I can learn it. Jiraiya rubs his temples. I'm not saying you'll never do it, but right now, you can't. What I mean by this is that your chakra is wild and out of control. You can't conglomerate it into a single packed sphere because it's so unruly. Maybe one day you'll learn it, but not now. You're not able to. That doesn't mean that there's not a technique for you to do though. Sasuke stood there, obviously upset, but he listened anyway. There's a technique that makes use of your strongest traits. It was actually invented by your master, Kakashi. It's a variation of the Rasengan. You see, when Minato created the Rasengan, he felt it was incomplete as a jutsu, but never could finish it. And so your master, Kakashi, attempted to. He too failed, but in doing so, he created a technique based on the Rasengan that I believe you could learn. It's called Chidori. Sasuke listened closely. Naruto ran over to take a listen too. The user pours lightning-style chakra into their chakra-shaped manipulation, and this creates a blade made out of pure electricity. It has high speed and high piercing power. In some cases, many would consider it a superior jutsu to the Rasengan, which is simply shape manipulation of chakra. The issue is, you would need to learn lightning release, which is tough to master, but at least won't require quite as much chakra control as this. Can I learn this technique too? Naruto asks. Jiraiya looks to Naruto. You haven't even finished the Rasengan. You think you're ready to move on to this? Well, I mean, if there's similar techniques, can't I just learn them both at the same time? Step off, Naruto. You already have your thing, Sasuke said. Jiraiya shook his head. Naruto, even if you did, you couldn't use this technique well. The speed that comes with this jutsu is only manageable by someone with the Sharingan, meaning this technique is better suited for Sasuke anyway. Only he can truly master it. This brought a smile to Sasuke's face. Jiraiya would then begin instructing both Sasuke and Naruto differently. From here, after a good bit of training, the two manage to complete their own techniques. Sasuke is able to use the Chidori, which boosts his speed incredibly. Naruto also masters the Rasengan, which fills him with pride, though he has yet to give up on his dream of completing his father's signature jutsu. After this, Jiraiya gathers the two together. Now that we've managed this, I think it's time I taught you both something new. The two sit down in front of Jiraiya as the man begins to speak again. There's something called Sage Mode. It's a powerful ability that relies upon introducing Senjutsu to the system. It can be used to increase the senses and further increase the strength of the user. The two boys seem to grow excited about this, but Sasuke is in for disappointment once more. Sadly, I'll only be teaching this technique in its entirety to Naruto. What? Sasuke seems frustrated. Jiraiya kneels down to speak. I can teach you how to absorb and use Sage Energy, Sasuke, but I can't teach you Sage Mode yet. And why not? Sasuke asks. Because Sage Mode, like the Rasengan, requires expert chakra control, and that goes beyond what the Rasengan requires. For me, being able to do the Rasengan at all is basically a prerequisite, and since you can't do it, I can't teach you to use the power boosting Sage Mode like I plan to teach Naruto. Sasuke seems all the more disappointed. Jiraiya puts his hand on his shoulder. Sasuke, I can't teach you all the same things I teach Naruto. This doesn't mean you're weak or can never do it. It simply means that you have different strengths. And your strength you need to focus on right now is evolving that dojutsu of yours. Sasuke looked up. You mean achieve a Mangekyo Sharingan? Jiraiya nods. That's the natural evolution of your personal strength that only you have. But that will require loss. Jiraiya shakes his head. No, you must train to let go of your pain and hatred. A Mangekyo Sharingan awakened by pain and loss will be subject to the curse of hatred that flows in your veins. You must overcome the curse and break its hold on you. You must learn to let go of your hatred. And if you do that, you'll awaken a Mangekyo Sharingan that won't consume you as it does others. How do I do that? Sasuke asked. You do that by discovering the darkness within you, the hatred that the curse is bound to, and destroying it. You must replace it with love. Awaken your Mangekyo, not with pain of loss, but by need to protect what you love. A Mangekyo Sharingan awoken by love is far stronger. And so Jiraiya brought Sasuke to a spot near his house, a place overflowing with nature energy. He sat him there. Meditate and find your darkness. Conquer it. Jiraiya would then return to Naruto and have him start training to master Sage Mode. As he did, Sasuke would continue to meditate. It wasn't very hard for him to find his darkness. After all, it had been a central part of him since his early childhood. How could Jiraiya ask him to destroy that? Was he really going to destroy a central part of himself? He looked into the darkness and saw Itachi's Sharingan glowing there. He was filled with anger. How could he simply let go of this? It was then that he felt something, a hand on his shoulder. He turned back and saw Fugaku standing there. Father. Fugaku looked down at him and smiled. The little bit of chakra left over from me, housed within you, is being fed by the nature energy, it seems, giving me a chance to talk with you once more. Sasuke stood there. He looked at Itachi in the distance. Is he an illusion? Sasuke asked. Fugaku shook his head. No, this too is a part of him. The part of him that lives inside of you. The part of him you built a shrine of anger around. Sasuke went to walk toward it, as if to attack this vision of Itachi, only to be pulled back by Fugaku. Look closely, Sasuke. Don't let your Sharingan be blinded by hatred, as all of ours have been. Sasuke looked closer once more to see that Itachi was crying. Huh? Fugaku let go of Sasuke. Your subconscious remembers, doesn't it? His subconscious does as well. Sasuke walked over to the shade of his brother slowly and looked upon the tears. Why do you cry? Are you finally remorseful? Do you finally feel as alone as I do? Fugaku then called out to Sasuke. Don't be deceived by only what your eyes can see. The true Sharingan sees with the heart. Sasuke looked back. No, you did this once before. When we were alone, after you killed everyone, you cried. Why? Itachi did not speak. What's wrong with him? Sasuke asked Fugaku. He's sworn to silence. He cannot speak without hurting others, and the pain he's caused has built up within him. If he doesn't speak, he's filled with pain. If he does speak, he'll fill others with pain. He'll fill you with pain. Sasuke looked back. Speak. Tell me what's on your mind then. I can't. You're not ready for the pain we hold. We, Sasuke asked. He looked over at Fugaku, who nodded. We. Only he and I know what truly happened that day. Sasuke looked at Fugaku and approached him. Tell me. Fugaku shook his head. It's not for me to tell. It's Itachi's. Tell him, son. Itachi's tears turned to blood as his eyes shifted to Mangekyo. This blood is symbolic. The streams of blood symbolized the heart and its pain. and the blindness within symbolized one's ability to close off and eventually stop feeling. Stop seeing. I hurt so many people, and I did it to protect love, to protect everything. I chose the lesser of two evils. Sasuke continued to listen. I did not kill the Uchiha of my own accord, but by the will of Konoha. Sasuke's nostrils flared with rage. He looked to Fugaku, who confirmed it. Slowly his anger continued to boil, and his desire for revenge grew in his heart. No, Itachi said as he looked upon Sasuke. Don't feel that way. You don't understand. Sasuke was confused. The need to destroy the Uchiha was born of the Uchiha themselves. Sasuke looked to Fugaku, who walked forward and began speaking. The Uchiha were blinded by our hate and planned a coup, unaware that doing such a thing would have destroyed Konoha. We became an enemy within and gave Konoha no choice. Sasuke looked to Itachi. I had to choose, save our clan or save our village. Konoha had to decide too. Nobody wanted this. It's what we made them do, Fugaku continued. But why kill everyone, man, woman, and child included? Sasuke asked. Itachi began to cry harder, because doing so would have left behind too many people to be consumed by the curse of hatred. The Uchiha are powerful, but our curse makes us unstable. Even one Uchiha was a risk. You were a risk, Sasuke. I was? Sasuke asked. Itachi nodded. I was allowed to spare you for doing the deed, but leaving behind any others would have caused them to grow resentful